Welcome back again to Note Card Art School. Today's episode is called Shapes I Don't Especially Care For. So I make a few rules. You know, rules are made to be broken. That's okay. The first rule we're going to break today is normally we draw on a note card as thus. Today though, we're going to draw on something else, something I like to call art supplies. So you can go to an art supply store if you live in a big town, or you can go on the internet if you don't live in a big town, and you can get all different kinds of paper and every different kind of thing. And you'll notice it all costs more than note cards, and it's not like amazingly much better. The reason I'm using it today though is because we're going to run through some shapes. So this is personal, you know, this is not for you. I'm just talking about me here. But you'll have your own list in your mind of shapes I don't especially care for. So there's certain shapes that I've found through the years. They all have the same effect on people. So what I would call these shapes, immediately identifiable symbols, or IISs. I just made that up. Immediately identifiable symbols. And there's certain shapes. The problem with these shapes, I think, and this is just again opinion, not science. The problem with these shapes is everybody, your brain stops seeing when you see these shapes, and your brain starts saying, look, there's a star. Or look, there's a heart. So these kind of shapes I don't really care for. And if you look at my note cards, like you could go to Etsy shop or look on Pinterest, I have a whole bunch of my cards there. And if you look there, you'll see I really try to avoid these shapes. Now, I'm not one to say never though, first of all. I'm not one to say I will never make that shape. So when it comes to letters and numbers, man, I don't know how to do this exactly. When it comes to letters and numbers, I might break that rule a wee bit. Like I'm kind of making like something I would make here. And this looks like shapes. This looks like letters and numbers, I mean. But I've sort of obscured them a little so you can't really tell. I think when I make note cards, when I make note card art, one of my goals is not to give you the answer. I don't want to give away the answer. I don't want to give you the answer. And when I say you, I mean the viewer, we would call that, or the guy, the person, the girl looking at it. There's other things I don't do in my note cards. You could do this if you want. And that's disconnected lines that don't touch. The challenge with these, the way, you know, you see me make these things. The problem with this is, it's you can't really color that in, you know. What is it, color to here and then change color there? That stresses me out. I'd much rather finish a shape like that. But that's me. You can put hearts. If you want to put hearts, I'll tell you what. It's up to you. If you want to put hearts, a million hearts. If you want to make note card heart school and just have hearts every which where. If you want to make just a planet of hearts. If you want to make heart universe. If you want to make a Valentine's cards. If you want to make a store that sells only Valentine's cards for Valentine's Day using hearts. That's all for you. Look at that. That almost looks like note card art school. In fact, I'll tell you the truth. Let's say I have a special person in my life. I've made Valentine's cards on note cards before. I think I would call those exceptions to the rule and not rules. Let's see. I'm sure I have some other shapes I try to avoid. I try to avoid any shape where you look at it and you go, oh, there's one of those. Look, it's one of those shapes. It's one of those shapes. Another thing I don't do very often, but you'll see I do this, is cross lines. So like that. I do it, but I don't do it very often. What I'm more likely to do, because I think it's more interesting to the eyeball, the human eyeball, I'm more likely to give you one of these. That's more interesting. So shapes. The next thing I'll tell you, I try not to do. Oh, here's another shape I don't really like. I don't really like the triangle. Triangle. You know what it looks like to me, the triangle? He looks like teeth off of Jaws, the shark in Jaws. Or I guess they're mountains. It looks like mountains. But I like mountains, but I don't like triangles. So there's another shape what did I say? Shapes I don't especially care for. I wouldn't say hate. I don't hate that shape. It's not like I see that shape in someone else's art and I'm like, oh great, it's ruined. They ruined it. They ruined that shape. They ruined that art with that shape. I don't say that. I don't say that. I don't mind flower shapes. But you know what? This is not, like I'm saying, it's not like Mark Reid gets to tell you what shapes you like. I'm not that guy. I'm not here to tell you that. I'm not here to tell you how to live. You tell you how to live. Look at this. I made 2 flower shapes. One's right side up and one's upside down. And you can make a leaf shape. I like that. Okay. That's a shape I do especially care for. So you just decide what shapes you like. I'm just telling you what shapes I try to avoid. But it's not like there's a law against it. This is freedom. This is about freedom, not about not freedom. I'm not here to take your freedom away. These are the shapes I don't prefer. These are the shapes I don't especially care for. You make your own shapes. This thing, just so you know, FYI, this is called ink. And this is called, I don't know what, a pen with a nib on it. And you can get those at the store too. You don't need to spend a lot of money on art supplies. You can use note cards and some Sharpies and you could do better than me, I bet. If you set your mind to it. If you just start working, get to work. That's what you should do. Thanks again. See you next time.